Hello, my fair friends. I'm Ruby Ruse, and today on Fairy Fortunes, I'd like to share with you the lifelong gains that I have made from the failures that I encountered on my depth year during the months of June and July.
If you would like to learn about fairy folklore, delve into modern fairy faith spirituality, and explore fun and fanciful fairy-themed events, please subscribe to Fairy Fortunes for new videos every Friday.
Now, as I understand it, the reasons behind the depth year is that you are reconnecting with things that are already in your life with the intention of exploring the meaning of them to see if they still have the same meaning that they did when they first entered your life, or if that meaning has changed, or sometimes discovering that those items and concepts no longer have meaning for you, and perhaps inspiring you to move those items along into somebody else's life so that someone else can give those items purpose. And what's a great thing about a depth year is that it has the side effect of saving money. Because the idea is that you're not necessarily bringing new things in, you're really trying to discover the meaning of things that are already present in your life. So with 2020, I decided that I wanted to give each month a theme, and I thought it would be really interesting to use the 12 houses of geomancy, which incidentally are the same 12 houses of astrology, as my monthly themes. So I had really great success, I think, in the month of January. I focused on the concept of self in the month of January, and how I did that is I was really exploring the concept of clothing and makeup. So I really tried to utilize all of my clothing, all of my jewelry items. I was trying to experiment with the makeup that I already had, these types of things. And I feel like I was really successful in that. I was able to come up with different outfits that I hadn't thought of before. My mother had given me a bunch of jewelry in December, and so I was trying to incorporate those beautiful jewelry pieces that had been in my mother's treasure trove. I also feel that the month of May was really successful for me. May was the house of children, or the house of pleasure. And so I actually have quite a few videos that explored concepts of pleasure. I did some cooking videos, I did a makeup video, I did a crafting video, I was exploring with crochet, and I did a lot of different things in the month of May, really exploring how pleasure manifested itself in my life and what it meant to me. And then I got to June. It's very difficult for me to talk about the months of June and July. The whole world, I think, finds the months of June and July very, very difficult. I was just so horribly moved by the death of George Floyd. It just, I can't even imagine what his family is going through, because it was just so devastating to me as a stranger, and having to witness what happened to him. I've been on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I was in the trenches, if you will, helping the community pick up their lives after the riots went through. My depth year just kind of went by the wayside, because I just thought of myself as being so unimportant during this time where so many other people were suffering so greatly. When June came after the riots at the very end of May, and then we were working through that devastation and trying to help people clean up their businesses. And it wasn't just businesses, it was people's homes. A lot of people were saying that it's just property. And what I can tell you of being there and helping people recover from the devastation of the riots is that it was more than property, because it was trauma. And that's permanent. And it wasn't people that had hurt George Floyd or Breonna Taylor. It wasn't those people. These people were innocent people. And most of the people that I was helping were people of color. I just lost myself in that time. Once June came, I started making very unfunny jokes. I was calling this the end of days and the apocalypse. What's ironic is that my theme for June was supposed to be service. And I think of June as being one of my greatest failures during my depth year. But maybe I didn't fail at all, because I was so removed from myself. I really had put myself as being unimportant, and it was more about serving other people, about helping other people, and not trying to aggravate their pain, but really trying to be a listener and an actor, getting in there with a shovel and helping shovel up the broken glass, and doing whatever I could to provide comfort to people that were in such pain. And I guess I feel that I was a failure because I just felt that I wasn't doing enough. July was supposed to focus on my relationships. Now, I just mentioned that maybe June wasn't a failure, really, because I was focusing very heavily on that concept of service. But I really don't have that with July, because instead of reconnecting with people and exploring the meaning of our relationships, I found myself avoiding them instead. One relationship that I really wanted to devote my time to was that I had recently connected with a very good childhood friend. This was like my best friend from my youth. And I was so excited to be reconnected with him, and we had so much in common as adults, and to realize that there was still meaning in that important relationship between the two of us. And instead of exploring that relationship and connecting with him, I was just so terrified because I didn't have anything positive to say in the month of July. June and July was just so horrific. The suffering of other people was so intense. And my friend, he has always been this beacon of light, not just in my world, but I feel like in the world in general. He is just an uplifting and inspiring person. I was just so afraid of burdening him with all this darkness that I felt I had during that time. But I mentioned in the beginning of the video that I feel that I have these lifelong gains from these failures that I encountered during my depth year. And what I have to say is that during the months of June and July, I had a profound lesson in patience. I realized that people's emotions are the product of years of experience and a host of different factors. And if I'm a factor at all in their emotional response to something, I'm only a portion of the total issue. So I've learned to give people time and space to have whatever emotional response it is that they are having. And I have committed to holding space for whatever that emotion is, even if it's loud and scary. But in that, I also learned that there is a distinct difference from having an honest emotional response and consistent behavior. And what I mean by that is that after dealing with the plague and toilet shortages and murder hornets and riots, I really just can't be bothered with people who are consistently disrespectful to me. I don't need to make a TikTok about my latest encounter with a Karen. I just don't. What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to cut these people loose. And another thing that was really hard for me in the month of June and July is that I had to cut quite a few people loose. Some of them were acquaintances, but some of them were people that I thought were good friends, and some of those people were family members as well. And I did that because it really dawned on me that sucking it up just sucks the life right out of you. I don't have to stay in situations that are harmful to my emotional state and my well-being. There seems to be this trend right now that someone's offense is not our problem. We have this entitled position that we get to say whatever we want to say to whomever we want to say it to, and we don't have to accept any consequences for that. That the other person's emotional response is not our responsibility. But going back to someone's emotional response is a lifetime of experience and based on a whole set of factors that I'm only one part of. That is true. But I feel that it's my responsibility to hold space for their emotions because they're having an honest reaction to something in the present. And it's important. And there are consequences to people's offense. Freedom of speech a lot of times sacrifices kindness. If someone is offended by something we said, why is it so hard to stop using the words that hurt them? Why is that their problem? Why can't we take steps to make their world better? Because if we make their world better, we'll make our world better. One of the great lessons that June and July taught me is that silence can be golden. Because sometimes the kindest thing that you can say is nothing at all. Another thing I just want to say is that I'm so grateful to my fan base here on Fairy Fortunes. I was struggling a lot during June and July. I just didn't know how to help people. And that was so traumatizing for me. And when I came home and wrote videos and recorded videos and got responses from many of you out there, it allowed me to keep going. It allowed me to do what I could, which probably wasn't enough. I know that. It wasn't enough. But I'm proud that I tried. And I wouldn't have had the strength to do that if not for you. And so I'm incredibly grateful. It's been a hard year. And I invite you to share your pain with me. Leave a comment. Tell your story. And let's all support each other and make it through. And with that, have a magical day.